Recently, I fell deep into this world of lightsaber replicas. For me, it was the perfect mix of Star Wars nerdiness, movie props, and also fun electronics and software. One lightsaber that I always wanted was Cal Kestis Saber from the Jedi video game series, and the timing was just perfect because two new sabers just dropped by two legendary designers in the community, Sabers and Denis Lukyanov. So I thought it could be interesting for all three of us to go over the differences between the two hilts, both in terms of design and engineering, but also, and importantly, accuracy to the in-game model. Yeah, it's gonna get really nerdy. So let's meet these two sabers. In one corner we have the Kestis. It's designed by Sabers and Jimmy Saberjunk, and this hilt was designed with a unique modular system that allows you to expand it with a shoto and a crossguard pack to match the different stances in the game, as well as the Fallen Order damaged hilt from the first game in the series. So I'll be focusing on the standard hilt for this video, but if you're looking for those variants of the saber, this is the one to get. In the other corner, we have the Oggdo Killer second generation, designed by Denis Lukyanov. The first generation was based on the hilt from the first game, Jedi Fallen Order, with the damaged pommel, and it's considered by most in the community the most accurate version of that saber. So Generation 2 now has been tweaked to match the version we see in the second game, Jedi Survivor. And just heads up, from now on, I'm going to be calling them KR and Oggdo. Okay, let's start by looking at these in terms of design and build quality. The first thing to know is that both hilts are fantastic. Great pieces of engineering and design. They both feel heavy and premium to the touch. And if you manage to get your hands on one, you won't be disappointed. Good job. With that said, at first glance, there are three main differences between the two. First, the size. The Oggdo has a noticeable taller grip section over KR's, so it makes an already big hilt just massive. Here it is compared to KR, an Obi-Wan from A New Hope, this Qui-Gon saber that I had, and Graflex. Jesus. I'll go over which one is more accurate later in the video, but also note that Oggdo's grip is way more like rugged than KR's, which has like a smoother finish. At first I considered this to be a good thing, but quickly realized that it actually makes it less comfortable to hold, if I'm honest. Second, the vents. So the Oggdo has an open vent section, and it comes with this optional thin black plastic mesh piece that you can insert it from the inside if you want. And having an open vent allows you to install some accent lights or like put a crystal chamber in there, and you can have it able to shine through the section, which is pretty flashy. By comparison, KR features a matte black metal interior tube that is visible from the outside, and again, we'll talk about accuracy in just a moment. Another obvious difference is the finish in the materials. Although both feature an aluminum main body with stainless steel shrouds, Oggdo has a super glossy, shiny finish that is a fingerprint magnet, really, and is very prone to scratches, while KR has a brushed matte finish that, in my opinion, looks better and feels higher quality. And it probably doesn't help that Oggdo seems to feature this like black inner tube that I believe is made of plastic. It could be anodized aluminum, but I couldn't for the life of me scratch it at all, so I'm assuming it's plastic, but I could be wrong. Also, the decorative lines on the Oggdo are painted black, whilst KR's are clear. In the shrouds, they're both made of stainless steel, which is great for weight and balance, and if you're interested in weathering these hilts, both are ready for like heat staining. That looks really good. But I gotta say, KR's shrouds are slightly thicker, which again makes them feel a little bit more expensive, but also there's probably something in the manufacturing process that just makes them cleaner than Oggdo's, which has these like subtle imperfections that you might like. Actually, it could be, you know, something you like, but I personally prefer the cleaner look. Okay, last point I'd like to cover before looking at accuracy is overall design and just how it's assembled. KR's has a much simpler and elegant design in my opinion, whereas Oggdo's seems to feature like way more parts and complexity. So I'll use these two examples. The grip in Oggdo is comprised of 4 parts as opposed to KR's single piece, which again just makes it easier to assemble, to take apart if you've installed it and you need to access the chassis or something, things like that. And especially that this top button section. So KR features like a 1-piece button you can press down, you know, and Oggdo has these 2-piece button that also acts as a screw to keep this collar section in place. And because it's a 2-piece, it means that the whole button doesn't depress when clicked. Instead, it's only the inner part that does. And if you're playing around with it and pressing it a bunch, like you would if you installed it as a like a Profi 1-button configuration, you would press it a lot to like for blaster effects and such. So you'll quickly get these cute little marks on your thumb, which are not very comfortable. It also makes this whole top section rattle a bit as you move it around, so it's not as great. All right, accuracy. Let's talk about it. At the end of the day, for me personally, the most important aspect of these replicas is how accurate they are. So I'm willing to overlook certain other aspects, like it's not as comfortable or something, if it brings them closer to the real thing. So let's go over some of these differences and see which ones make for a more accurate replica. Let's start with the size. This one is an easy one to check. I've taken a bunch of pictures using the in-game photo mode, and then I also try to match the distance and angle for a fair enough comparison, I hope. And KR seemed to win a point here. Again, if I had to guess, I would bet that Oggdo is designed around the height of the Fallen Order hilt. But again, this is just a guess, but we can clearly see that KR is closer. Vents. This one is easy. Vents are not see-through in the game. There's no mesh, no grill, just like KR's, it's just a solid inner tube. You can also see here with the Saber on, there's no light leak anywhere. So I just don't understand why Denis didn't include like another optional simple black plastic piece, right, as well as the mesh, giving you the option, like, do you want to go for accuracy or do you want to go for like that see-through flashier look? So I guess you could just make one yourself and, you know, get it closer to more accurate version. But again, point for the KR. Finish. This one is almost impossible to arrive at a conclusion because even though the game allows you to change the weathering levels on the Saber, you can never really get it to like a pristine, you know, just got it from Amazon look. It's always at best with some light use. So I think it's fair to say that KR's looks more like the game because the game is not shiny at all. But one can argue that the lightsaber in the game, well, it did look like Oggdo's when it was brand new, but we will never know. So I'll call this inconclusive. Black lines. Okay, man, the black lines. Oggdo has the lines painted black, and KR's the lines are clear. This one is tough because there's a lot of pictures where you can see clearly it has black lines. Like this picture. This is the first time we see the Saber in this promotional photo from the first game, Fallen Order. And look at that. Clearly, there's black lines. But I also looked at the official art book, and it's hard to tell. Sometimes the lines are clearly black, sometimes they're not even visible. But just like when we talked about the finish, these lines could very well be the product of basic weathering. Here's an example of KR's model, KR's Saber, weathered, which looks really good and features something very close to what we see in that same promotional image from before. And again, in the game photo mode, if I get the angle and lighting just right in the game, look at that. Would you say that maybe those lines are not supposed to be painted black? So I personally think that the black lines are from weathering. I can see a lot of arguments against it as well. I'm gonna personally give it the point to KR as well here, just because it's way easier to get the black lines by weathering than going the other way around with the Oggdo. So, right, let's talk now about the shrouds. The shrouds, Oggdo has the shrouds like further away from the core, and in my opinion, that's more accurate to the game model. Look, we can see there's like more space there. Also, the core has these 8 little dimples, whilst KR's, probably because of the way they designed the connection system, only has 6. And that whole aluminum section there is clever, but not accurate. So I'm going to give this point to Oggdo. Blade plug, I don't know what they were thinking, but Oggdo's blade plug is not even close. And KR nailed it. Like, it clearly has that same brass finish, has that like color. So I don't know what happened, but point for KR. These greeblies. So these greeblies come separate in both KRs and Oggdos, and they feature a almost identical design. Again, just in the theme of the complexity of the build and the rest of the Saber. In Oggdos, it's like a 2-piece, you have to glue together or something. It's pretty much identical. I installed the wires myself to make it match the game, but a little detail that Oggdo nailed that I didn't even notice before, but there's this asymmetry there with the greebly. And so, nice touch, point for Oggdo. Okay, grip. If we ignore the size, like I said before, the grip section in the Oggdo is more rugged, which at first I thought was more accurate. Looking at it in the game, it looks rugged, but if I actually look at how much elevation there is, there's virtually none, which one can argue is just how the texture map is rendered, right? But that's also the problem with making a real-life prop match like a digital one. But so I think KR version is a closer match to what we see, also because of the pattern, like is in this square shape like in the game, whilst Oggdo has this like longer rectangle shape. So point for KR. Alright, pommels. The pommels are very close, but because of the way that KR's is designed to allow for that quick release, it introduces a small gap that makes it less accurate to the game. And also there's this section right there with like this asymmetry in the game, and Oggdo got it right. So this last point goes for Oggdo. All right, that's it. My opinion, let's do a conclusion here. My opinion, the Oggdo is a flashier replica that has a lot of cool looking details, like the vents, see-through vents, like the glossier finish. Whilst the KR is the most accurate replica with a cleaner and sturdier design. So I'm keeping my KR. I already installed it. I've been playing with it, but now I'm gonna install the Oggdo as well, and then I'm gonna be selling it. So if you'd like to buy this one for me, get in touch. I'll put my contact information in the description. Thank you so much for watching this, and if you made it all the way to the end, haha, you're a huge nerd.